you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they want to do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shit.
How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. Today we're going to talk about how to earn the respect from your supervisor. I posted this up on my profile page on Facebook, and at this point it has 117 responses. I mean, pretty much the sentence is, do your job, but I thought we could elaborate more. So I'm going to bring on Russ Hamilton and Soto. Russ, introduce yourself, my man.
My name is Russ Hamilton. I have 27 years in with California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. I'm retired now, and I have a few more years in with Juvenile Division here in Northern California. And that's about all.
All right. And I also got Professor Soto. What's up, Soto?
Hey, how we doing, guys? Retired major from New Jersey Department of Corrections after 25 years, and now Rutgers professor under their criminal justice program. Like always, enjoying the time that I have coming on to your talk and, converse with everyone.
Yeah, this is going to be a real quick dialogue. Try to keep things under 25 minutes. So again, guys, we're going to go to our sponsor. We come back. We're going to talk about how you can earn the respect of your supervisor. And again, this could be for rookies who are on the job that are just starting, or also for senior staff. I think, it could apply to both. But again, we'll discuss that as we come back from our sponsors. Now, guys, if you haven't, the show Tier Talk, see you brave men and women that work in corrections. So please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. Bell's going to notify you every time I post a video. We're going to go to our sponsor, and we come back. How do you earn the respect from your correctional supervisor? Stand by.
I wanted to attend a university that had an intelligence program. I wanted to look at problems different. I wanted to increase my critical thinking abilities. AMU offered those avenues to expand. Obtaining your degree as an adult, you're actually paying yourself and investing in yourself. You can't put a dollar on it, it's priceless. It's something that can never be taken away from you.
American Military University. Learn from the leader.
Guys, inmate manipulation is a course that is highly needed. It's the process that's so slow moving and subtle that you don't realize it's happening. When inmates choose to manipulate, they manipulate our need to react. Situational awareness and insight is going to save your career. It's going to save you from doing foolish things. Listen to your gut. So the more insight we have, the more we can recognize what isn't so overt, and we can correct our behavior before we fall into a trap that we can't get out of. If you allow an inmate to pull you out of your prescribed role, you are opening up a door for a host of problems. Inmate manipulation, the psychology behind inmate manipulation. Available now. Link in description. All right, and we're back. Hey, guys, this question was actually sent to me. So I figured, you know what? Let's do a quick topic on this. So who could I, obviously have the best on right now? Russ Hamilton and Soto. So right off the bat, we'll go with Russ Hamilton. Russ, I mean, how do you interpret that question? How do you earn the respect of your correctional supervisor? Now, you were a supervisor. You worked out of San Quentin. So if you had a rookie come up to you and ask you this question, what would you expect from them?
Well, I think the easiest way to answer it is just to talk about the way that I went about gaining the respect from my supervisors. And that's simply to be able to be the person that's able to fill in their shoes when they're not there. They can't always be at both ends of the yard. They can't always necessarily be in a position and place where they're always able to be the one calling the shots. If they have that trust in you that you're able to fill those shoes and that you're able to make those calls, make those decisions, and they've given you basically their seal of approval, that's when you know that you've earned that. And you go about getting that by proving yourself time after time after time and showing that you can not only do your job, but you know how to do their job at the same time.
Right. I also think being a new boot, being receptive to the advice that's being given you by that supervisor
by those experienced correctional staff, that could also help because they're seeing that you're willing to learn. And then again, when you get into those areas where you're tested, you're going back to what you're being taught. And I think that builds a lot of trust, definitely, with the supervisor. What's your thoughts on that, Soto?
No, I absolutely agree. There's always the basics, do your job well, learn what you can learn. If you're a new boot or a new person starting out, learn, ask a lot of questions of the supervisor and of the senior officers that are on the post already. And for the more veteran guys, show your supervisor that you can take someone under your wing as well and show them the right way of doing things. I think that shows a lot of respect, or earns a lot of respect from your supervisor, when you can show others, the right way to do or perform duties.
Right. One of the concerns that I saw coming up on the comments a lot actually was related to housing units, where a lot of officers may quickly go to pen and paper. Now, again, there's some discretion when it comes to writing up inmates. Sometimes you're able to handle it with some management. You know what I mean? Like, not everything may require a write-up. Sometimes it's just some dialogue that you're going to have with that inmate as a unit officer. And when someone wrote down that I'm going to write up everyone, then someone responded back, yeah, but then you're not the one running the unit. You're giving the supervisor that job. And technically the supervisor kind of wants to, entrust that you can do it. They don't want to be called up for every little thing. They want to be able to see that you are utilizing discretion and, handling things that should be handled at your level. And then if they come down to the unit, they're only coming down because it's emergent. What's your thoughts on that, Soto?
Well, as always, inmates are usually more afraid of the new recruit or the new officer that's on the floor, because they're more apt to go to the pen than a veteran officer is. A veteran officer has been there, has the experience. He knows how to handle situations. He knows how to say no. So they're more afraid of the rookie that's going to try to put some things on paper just to prove himself. Not that it's a bad thing, but of course, every time you put something on paper, you are involving like a supervisor, and the supervisor has to come on the unit more often. And, and what you want to do is show that supervisor, yes, I am new, but I do know what is required of me and how to run this housing unit. Ask questions. Trust me and believe me, a good supervisor will always be grateful that a person is asking questions. That shows that that person is interested in doing a good job for that supervisor.
Yeah, I think the supervisor is going to expect with rookies that there's going to be a lot of write-ups coming in. I think the supervisor is going to know that, but eventually we're hoping that rookie develops some level of discretion and they'll be able to handle things in-house. Again, that's non-emergent. But, hey, Russ, I'm sure that you've had your dealings with, maybe people just writing up every little thing and then you constantly having to go back to that unit. It's like, who's really running this, me or you?
Yeah, if the write-up thing is generally, a compliance issue. If you can't get them to comply, then some people feel that they have to go straight to the pen. I always felt that for me, going to the pen and putting it to the paper was generally more involved with when I'm reporting a crime or an incident, because in most cases, if you have some experience behind you, you're able to gain that compliance without going there. I used to like to only use it when it was about that crime, when it was about that incident, when it was about reporting use of force and those things, because then inmates appreciate it more, knowing that when you get to that point, it's extremely serious and it's not just, your point of view at that moment in time.
Yeah, I've actually seen supervisors, when they look at the roster, they see who's running the unit and they kind of plan their day accordingly. Like, I know if this person is going to run the unit, I'm going to have to be in this unit pretty much every time this person has an issue. Or, I know this person's in the unit. That's great. Now I'm going to be able to free up myself to do these other things because I know that this person calls me. I know it's going to be emergent. And another thing is this too, is if you wind up being that officer that kindly causes that supervisor to come to the unit for every little thing, if it is emergent, it may not even be taken seriously. That supervisor will be like, you know what, here we go again, going through the routine. Where if it's that officer that barely ever utilizes it, that supervisor, when they're called, that supervisor is going to be like, you know what, let's bring a couple of guys, let's go up there because this person is not usually one to have complaints. Would you agree with that, Russ?
Yeah, absolutely. When you start down this path toward becoming a journeyman correctional officer, you have a lot of, decisions that at some point you're feeling like you're unwilling to make because you don't have that experience behind you. But at some point you have to step up and decide, what kind of an officer you're going to be. You have to step up and decide, how you're going to run things, because ultimately, when you have that badge on your chest, you're in charge of the stuff. And so sometimes it's just a matter of, you have to, take the bull by the horns and being able to wrestle whatever you can get out of it. I've seen too many times where people get stalled out in their career and in the path to becoming that journeyman officer, where they're never willing to make a decision, and they're always calling, the brass down to try and give them input. They need to figure out how to function as that experienced level senior correctional officer, journeyman, whatever you want to call it.
Soto, I see you nodding your head in agreement. What was it that stuck with you?
No, that it's just people with experience, that we've been in the business so long, you agree with each other when you hear the right words. You know what I mean? You have to make decisions, even though you're new. No decision is the wrong decision, right? You have to make a decision and then be able to justify why. One of the words that we teach the recruits is always to be able to say no, right? You can always revert back. And if an inmate is asking you something and you're not too sure of, you know what? No, I'm going to find out and I'm going to see what the right thing is. No. But if I agree and I say, yes, you can go do this, or yes, you can go into that area, and I might have messed up. I might have said something that I'm not supposed to do or allow them to do, and I really can't go back on that. But if I say no, I got to find out. No, I don't think you're allowed to do that right now, so no. And it's the easiest word to say, and it shows command. No, I'm in charge. I will let you know what can and can't be done. And once you do that and you earn the respect and you make decisions that are sound decisions, run them by your supervisor once he comes on the unit, you gain their respect.
Yeah, and I also like to think, if I can add, I think that a supervisor should also know what to expect from their employees. You know what I mean? You want some level of consistency, and you want that employee to be dependable. So especially in corrections, consistency is really key, because, we used to say in our dealings, be firm, fair, and consistent. And then Russ was quick to bring that up. But in order for you to do that with the population, you have to be that way with yourself. And I think that carries a lot of weight, that consistency level. Hey, Soto, what's your thoughts of being that consistent officer so you could be dependable? What does that mean?
Well, that you can't have somebody that, changes their mind a lot. That one day you want to be a tough guy on the tier, the next day you want to let them do whatever they want. You have to have some consistency. You have to be a smart supervisor as well. If you have a brand new officer or somebody that doesn't have as much experience, you have to understand that mistakes are going to be made, and you may have to allot that extra time to come onto that unit and be able to observe the person, maybe not on the unit, but if you're off to the side, just observe them in their element and see what they're doing and how they manage their unit. I talk to the inmates as well. You know what I mean? If the inmates are not complaining about the officer, usually that means that officer's probably just sitting in a booth or not doing what he's supposed to do, not making rounds. But if an inmate is actually complaining, oh, this guy's searching my cell, or this guy's too rough or too tough, or this guy's doing this and that, those little complaints may not be just complaints. They may be, things that go into your head. The officer at least is on the unit. He's doing his rounds. He's actually doing searches and stuff like that. So it may be assigned to a supervisor. Yep, this guy's doing or going in the right frame of mind.
I used to get that all the time. I used to get that I walked too much, the inmates would say. And the funny thing is, I never actually had a supervisor come to me and tell me to stop walking. You know what I mean? Like, especially working in a female facility and open dorms, we did a lot of walking, because the walking in itself was deterrence. Basically they couldn't predict when I was going to come down. It really wasn't predictable, and I thought that was a very big plus. But hey, Russ, if working in San Quentin, man, what does it mean for your staff to be consistent and dependable?
Well, once you're in that position that you're a sergeant, the main thing that you want to do is you want to try and clone yourself out there, assuming you're a good sergeant, of course, to be able to train your people in the way that they should go and give them the reins, put the responsibility on them, make them, have to suffer for the outcome, good or bad, in what they're doing in order to, push them along the way. You do not want them ultimately reliant on you. You want them to feel that they have the power, that they have the authority, that they have the training, and that they have the experience in order to carry out every single function on that unit.
Right. Someone actually even mentioned in one of the comments I was reading that if you're going to sit there and call the supervisor for every little thing, you're also giving away your level of authority. Like you said, Russ, you kind of made me remember a comment that someone said, like there are certain things that you should be able to handle. Now, don't get me wrong. If you do have an issue and it's becoming repetitive, then at that point, because it's becoming repetitive, then obviously you may need a supervisor's help because there'll be certain things a supervisor could do that you as an officer may not. But if it's really during those initial interactions and you're quick to write them up and again, non-emergent situations, then I like what this person said and what you kind of said. You're kind of giving that over your power of authority to the supervisor. It's like, oh, I'm going to get mommy and daddy. Like, I mean, I guess they could say the inmates could view it as such. And then I see you smiling, Soto. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but it's funny. I mean, I'm glad that Russ said it. You want to clone yourself. You want them to be like you, run the unit like I would run it. But then I go back to saying, well, if I have to come on the unit and run your unit, what do I need you for? You're the one that's there 8 hours or 7.5 hours or 6 hours out of the day, without your meal or without your meal break or whatever. But if I have to come on the unit every single time, if I have to run your unit for you, you're not going to gain my respect at that point. You know what I mean? If I'm on your unit 3-4 times, call me when I'm needed, right? Call me when I'm supposed to be there, when I'm supposed to give you the guidance that you need or something that you can't handle, right? That's what I'm there for. I'm your support group. I'm not going to be mom and dad. Like you said, call me every 5 minutes because somebody doesn't want to do what you asked them to do.
Right. Now, when we were talking about dependability and consistency, also a very important thing to get the trust of your supervisor is utilizing that chain of command. Russ, what's your thoughts when I tell you that utilizing that chain of command definitely is a very big part of earning the trust of your immediate supervisor?
Yeah, that comes down to, your discretionary decision-making skills, your overall judgment. I talked before about, stepping in and filling that person's shoes. Well, that's all great to a point. But you also have to have that ability to understand that, this particular situation is at a point where we need to bring in someone with, some brass on their collar that can, give me what I need in order to back me up in this situation, because this is beyond that. I need to make the necessary notifications. I have to put them in the loop, but I'm still going to, be there with the options that they need to carry out once I bring them in like that. But yeah, it's having that ability to know that it is that time versus filling their shoes and making the decisions for them.
Well, so let me ask you a question. How would you feel as immediate supervisor if your supervisor was aware of something before you were? Like if your front line brought a concern around your back to your lieutenant or the next person up, and then kind of, for no reason, just went around you.
If I give you my true opinion is, I am very, very a stickler to the chain of command. It is necessary. There's a reason for it. If we didn't have a chain of command, then I mean, what do we have it for if no one's going to use it? You need to have that line of succession. If you went to my lieutenant, I'm the sergeant, you just negated my opportunity to resolve the issue, to resolve the problem at my level. And that's what we do in corrections. You try to resolve issues, concerns, gripes at the lowest level possible. And our superiors can have that trust in us, right? My lieutenant should trust me as a sergeant that I'm able to handle the issues and concerns, that I'm only going to go to him if I need his assistance or her assistance in whatever scenario I'm in. But you definitely have to go through that chain of command. There's very little things in our field that you would absolutely have the right to go above, your immediate supervisor. And we know those things are other things that have to happen, or something is with the first line supervisor. But other than that, you should follow the chain of command. It's there for a reason.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you exhaust that level first. There's a couple, I know you guys got to go. There's a couple of comments I want to go through first that I feel have value, and then we can pretty much wrap this up. I won't say their names. I'll keep the names out. But the first person says, do your job, do your rounds, follow policy, keep ego out of the job, try to do the right and moral thing if you can, help your fellow officers and shift supervisors and admin if you can, ensure your partners and coworkers get home safe. And I'm sure we all agree with that, Russ. I mean, how important is that to make sure that you're doing what you can on that front line to make sure that your partners, your people that are coming in are going home safe every day?
Yeah, I agree 100%. But that's also, but that's also just that low level corrections 101 right there. Those are the things that you should come in and be able to do and function, pretty much from day one. The things that we've talked about, I think, in this particular video are a bit more advanced than that, in which, we're actually trying to be, setting the right tone for the entire unit or for the entire facility, and not just operating on those default switches that should be there anyway.
And so do you have a thought on that? You want me to go to the next comment?
No, go ahead to the next comment.
I found this one, there's two more left. I found the next two very interesting as well. As for me, ride for me as I would ride for you. When you call me with the situation, have a solution at hand, but trust in me if I decide to change or tweak it a little bit, knowing that I would not put either one of us in danger, but with that comes time and trust. So what's your thoughts on that, Soto? I see you nodding in agreement.
Yeah, that's an excellent advice. I like that advice. Not just come to your supervisor with a problem, but an actual solution. You're the one on the floor. Remember that. You see the issues, the concerns. You're there day in, day out. You spend more time than the supervisor on that unit. You may have those solutions. You know what I mean? It may be a policy change that you think may work better. So, yeah, I enjoy that, and I like that comment quite a lot.
It comes from someone in New Jersey, by the way. Hey, Russ, I know you want to add to that because I know you're a big person when it comes to, don't come with me with a problem, come with a solution, and we'll fix it from there.
Yeah, and, not just having the solution ready, but having already, implemented as much of it as you can. Your supervisor may want other additional things done, but, once I had an incident going, and I was, already, down that chain of things I should do, whether it was doing upper body searches, locking down the unit, whatever it was, I would always ask them what else they wanted me to do, what else they needed me to do. But I would already, have most everything already in place. And all they had to do then was basically sign off on what I'd done, or, maybe add one or two little things to it. And, that right from the get-go gets you that gravitas from them where they know that you're ready to take charge, to take command, and to give you that respect.
Right. And I want to comment that before we get to that last thought. I think when it comes to that, when you're a supervisor and you really make those frontline really think of solutions, they'll even be shocked in what they know. I mean, because, just test them a little bit and they probably already have the answer. Sometimes they're just afraid to suggest it, especially if you're a supervisor that micromanages everything. No, just go to and say, what would you do? And then let them get, and then as I said, you got to tweak it a little bit, but empower them. And I think that really does matter a lot, because once they start to see that their communication has value, that, that you're actually listening to what they're saying, even if it's a little tweak, it doesn't matter because the foundation is an idea that they thought of. And I think that's a great working relationship between the two. And I think that was a great comment from that individual. Here's the last comment, and then we can go ahead and quickly wrap this one up. And guys, don't forget, we'll be covering this a little bit more detailed in the podcast that will be released Friday. It's a Tier Talk podcast that comes out every Friday through the Law Enforcement Network. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Tunes, possibly iHeartRadio soon. Okay, so know what governs you in black and white, so policy. Stay affirmed in your decisions when decision-making, and don't be afraid to correct, with respect, your superior when you know their guidance or order is incorrect. What's your thoughts on that first, Russ?
Yeah, that's a big one. If you are able to do that, I would say that you have mastered the art of being that corrections professional. I've run into that times in my career and had to pull someone up short. And you know what? If you're not afraid to do that, if you think that your way is right, if you know that you're better aligned with policy, procedure, and the law, and you can pull that off, you're a great professional.
And what's your thoughts on that, Soto? I saw you nodding as well.
Yeah, you know, as you gain experience in the profession, you will have times and obviously experiences where you think your supervisor is making the wrong move. And, you know, especially if we're talking about use of force and stuff like that, you may have to come up and say, hey, maybe there's a better way. Maybe we got to do it this way. But you have to have an art form to do that. I wouldn't suggest that of new recruits, people starting out. You need to observe, learn, and allowed to be guided by your superiors before you go challenging their way of supervising. So please, if you're new, just sit back, relax, observe, learn, and then in the future, you know, you'll have your chance to put your 2 cents in.
I would also like to add that sometimes you can give an opinion by a question that you ask. You know, if there's something that you feel may be incorrect, then without being condescending to that supervisor, you can maybe go ahead and ask the supervisor in a way that may make them rethink it. I mean, don't forget, sometimes we make mistakes. We're not perfect, and I'm always willing to listen. I mean, again, front line knows it best. And like we all said just now, I would prefer you give me something first anyway. I'm building off your recommendation. You know, you're the expert. Technically, you're the frontline person. But I think that, you know, you can ask a question in a way that's not insulting, and that could, if there is a concern, it can cause the supervisor to rethink what they said. So it's not like I'm correcting you. It's like, okay, so you want me to do this, but if I do this, this is what could happen. Okay, you know what? Let me rethink that real quick. Let's try it this way. So again, it's not challenging the order. It's just, you know, clarifying it, you know, if you will. So maybe an effort to clarify. I would try it that way. Do you guys have anything you want to say in closing? Soto first.
Once again, I think we covered some of the basics and things that would help you as the officer gain the respect of your supervisors or your superiors. So please be respectful at all times and stay safe.
Thank you, Soto. What about you, Russ? Anything you'd like to say in closing?
I just want to say I've been glad to be part of this discussion, and you know, I hope it helps someone out there to, you know, kind of get an idea of just how the decision-making process goes and how you do actually manage to get that respect from your bosses.
Yeah, guys, this is actually a dialogue that can complement a lot of other dialogues we've had. We've touched on these topics before. You know, we've actually done how can a supervisor earn the respect of the front line. So now we try to reverse perspective, and then we'll cover a little bit more detail tonight. But as always, guys, the show's Tier Talk. If you haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. The bell's going to notify you every time I post a video. Stay safe.